And
America
to
must.
get to, just to add to what you said, Barrister Gana, um, you need to support ABC Amba Television, and the time is now. Perhaps you're watching all the channels that Ambazonia purported or supposedly has. Perhaps you are watching the La République du Cameroon proxy TVs within Yaoundé and Douala. Perhaps you're watching the channels in West and Central Africa. You would agree with us that without ABC Amba TV, Ambazonia will be having a huge handicap. This is a weapon that Cameroon is doing everything to seize or destroy. They have tried with Chris Ano and his friends and they failed. And they're re-strategizing to come back hard. One thing that will keep us afloat, one thing that will keep us vibrant will be your kind donations to make sure that we're working. Our administrative setup is improving every day. And like never before, we have not come public crying. I said to you 2 weeks ago, it is not because we lack or we are not having the challenges that were there before. No, we even have greater challenges because we have expanded our production and the stakes are high. But because of proper management, we can make sure that Amazonia at least has one thing. The only thing that Amazonia has 100% control of, and that is owned by Amazonia by at least 100%, is ABC Amba Television. And therefore, you have to keep it alive. Next Saturday, about this time, that is if resource mobilization and other government actors will agree on that date. They are pushing, the patrons and club and board members are pushing through for us to have ABC Amba TV Day next Saturday. And a lot of activities will be there. We're going to use the ABC Amba TV Day to officially present to the public the historic rapper, and we think that we're increasing production of this wrapper to make sure that before the 1st of October, we're having the entire wall with blue and white with a fabric that represents our nation 100%. Previous to the prior to this time, we've had others attempt something which I consider it was just a flag. There's nothing wrong for you to be like Milichi using the flag. It's very patriotic. It's applaudable. In fact, it is a laudable effort for you to have a flag as an outfit to represent your nation. But when you want a rapper, you get a rapper like what ABC has produced for Amazonia. One way for you to be patriotic is to own it for your wife, your children, your family. Let everyone in your household own a wrapper, and so you can all look beautiful in that wrapper come October. Let's make a statement, and our women during Women Days should stop putting on Shanta Bia's outfit and make sure that we will get it. There's also a T-shirt that was conceived by Pastor Commando. We're working on the modalities as to how we'll have some kind of franchise distribution of that T-shirt that's acknowledging Amazonia as a 55th nation globally, and have it on 1st October. So people were dressed uniquely in all of that. I want to bring you back. All of this week, we'll be talking about the referendum from an educative standpoint, not debating on it. What is the interim government stance? I want to bring you back to this in conclusion of tonight's discussion. But before we do that, I'd like you to listen again. Just do us the due diligence and patience to listen to how succinct and how explicit the president is on the topic of a referendum. Stay tuned. We'll be back to have the input of Barrister Gana that was not there from the start and to get a concluding statement from all our panelists. Stay tuned.
Ambazonia people them, any side where you dey, I throw a salute. I want to talk for we today about this matter where it turn all side with the hearer. Some people they call and say referendum. Some people them they propose say, may we make our fight for Ambazonia, may it be na a fight for referendum. I don't hear that talk so they, correct for my ear. Now I say make I can't tell you now. Say something they happen, may not take we all by surprise because that book is big plenty. That English book, English word, now one way, no matter all we go that book will know the difference. And for the generation, I not gonna expect say a few book people that she done they go confuse all we. Then we don't know what the way it happen. They will all we will find we say we go enter na inside sea, we drown. We not go fight this fight reach for this level. We miss them again. We must win. We must take back our country because we feel lose fight not be because we don't know how to fight, but because we make mistake. We feel lose fight not because we don't know how to fight, but because we be ignorant. We fight, we not fight with sense, and we don't know what they do. The enemy take advantage, and some people then to the day where they push their agenda, where sometimes they get their own paper for inside, whether they leak them. So I take my own time. I explain this thing for all may we understand. That people where they talk say this will fight for independence, so may we change them. May we instead talk say we the fight now for referendum. Make I clarify this thing for all Ambazonians because may I use their number one argument where they give them say United Nations if they give referendum for Southern Sudan become independent. They give referendum for Eritrea get independent from Ethiopia. So make we talk say United Nations will give our own referendum for Southern Cameroon Ambazonia so that we too will get our own independence. That thing they so it like na poison for inside honey. May I explain what way me I know. And me I don't know pass all man. Man we know this matter pass we. Make he also explain am. Me I hear am. But me I know say referendum na something where governments for the world and United Nations they use am for solve internal problem for inside country. They also use referendum for change constitution and make important constitutional provision them for inside the same country. For example, if Cameroon want change something for inside their constitution, they want do decentralization, they change the constitution. And if they discover say they want to know whether people they like federalism, they feel make a referendum because any other thing where they want to do any major internal change for inside country, they feel use a referendum for bring about that change. And when, for example, when South Sudan, they be give the referendum, they not be independent. They will be na part and parcel of Sudan country, the Sudan nation. But because of their agitation, they be just say no, one girl, one country. The United Nations tells Sudan say, okay, we will organize a referendum so that through that referendum now they can give South Sudan independence. When Eritrea, it be also get problem with Ethiopia, they say they want go. United Nations can't give Eritrea referendum. Eritrea be a part and parcel of Ethiopia. They not be independent before they give them referendum. So the matter between Eritrea, the people of Eritrea and Ethiopia, it been an internal affair. But because the agitation we don't go too far, United Nations say, okay, we will give them referendum. We will know whether by law we carve them out as a nation. So after the referendum, United Nations give them independence. But for Ambazonia, the Southern Cameroon, we don't already be independent. For 1961, United Nations already give we independence. So I think that this fight will be fight. So no na fight for being independent. We not be part and parcel of La Republique. So we know they no fit use referendum for decide whether we be part of or remain part of La Republique or we go away because we never join in the first place. We don't need referendum for know whether we be Southern Cameroonians. We already know say we be Southern Cameroonians. Even the United Nations na be pronounced we independent and we be decide say we go join. The marriage waka. Marriage certificate no dey. They join it, we no join. Even the team will be one starter called Federal Republic of Cameroon. Ichakara. La Republique don't go their own side. They go choose their own name where they be enter the marriage with them. Which we don't go take we own name will be start with them. We don't restore our own independence. We will be first getter. How some people they can't talk now say may United Nations can't give referendum. May we know whether we go be independent or not. How many times some man they get independent? Which country don't get independent 2 times? These people they talk say may we talk say we need a referendum. That means say they don't agree now say we not be first of all be independent before. Say they don't agree with La Republique say we'll be one and indivisible with La Republique. But may United Nations can't give a referendum may we, so that we will fit determine whether we fit be separate and independent or not. No. Our case now one way marriage it be fair because marriage certificate no be Treaty of Union no be there. The marriage no join. The marriage fail. Jumba fail. Any man don't go on side. La Republique no take back their independence. We too will take back our independence. Now you can't tell we say we get for talk say we need referendum before we go know whether we will be independent or not. You want give we independent 2 times? If we be there part of of La Republique. If Idea or Betua or Marwa, if they agitate today, say they want separate a Fang people, they want separate for get their own country, they go give them referendum because they never ever be independent. They never ever get international boundary. They get for after the independent, now they will come now carve their own country, they give for them. After that referendum. But we no need referendum to be independent because we are already independent. United Nations, they use plebiscite for matters where they concern independent countries. But when it concern internal matter, they use referendum. May I give you the difference between referendum and plebiscite? When United Nations be one can ask we whether we will join Nigeria or Cameroon, because we be sovereign people, because we be separate and independent, international recognition, they not be give we referendum. They only consult our opinion for what they call and say plebiscite. They consult our opinion. And after we give we opinion, then they tell we say, okay, if na so, una go do before una go fit join with this country. Una get forget, una get for sign a treaty, una get forget a federal, una get for agree on how that country go be, una sign all paperwork. When the United Nations want to consult the opinion of a sovereign nation, they give them referendum, they give them a plebiscite. Because that plebiscite is not a legal, be binding. It's just a survey, an opinion survey, where you go fit help them for make the best decisions concerning that sovereign people or that sovereign nation. But why you go come tell we in the middle of a fight for defend our restoration where we don't already restore? Tell we say, may we forget about that one. May we pretend like say we no be get independent. May we come back and agree with international public say we will be one and indivisible. But may we ask for a referendum. And so that if La Republique, they do what they know how to do for 62 years. If the international community, they enter conspiracy with La Republique, including France, they do anything what they want to do. When that referendum result come out, where it not go happen in 1 year, 2 years time or 3 years time, if it take 10 years before they put a referendum together, if it take 5 years, 6 years before referendum go put out, when they go do that 6 years, they go do everything, eliminate all this our fighter, they turn everything upside down. When they go fit turn around, they talk say no, people they talk say they want join La Republique, now then win. If they decide so, dialogue will be again. Any man where you win referendum, dialogue end. When you accept say you want solve this matter by referendum, it means say you don't suspend dialogue, because for referendum now winner takes all. Whoever win a referendum, that's the end of conversation. No dialogue. And La Republique know how to win any election. Anything will concern election and vote. Anything where they happen inside the country where they call and say their own, one and indivisible, they know what to do. Yes, they know what to do. But if United Nations give you the doubt something, or you want to know exactly how their first plebiscite be waka, and why they join in no be take place, and whose side, how this marriage don't waka, and why what to be the position of the people of Southern Cameroon today, whether they will support we or they no will support we. If United Nations want do that kind of thing, they want know who say where the majority stand, they go consult our opinion on the matter. They no go give we referendum, because they no go give we referendum to know whether we want be independent or we no go be independent, because we don't already get independent. What happen for that first independent? They will consult with opinion, then they discover say, okay, majority of these people are standing on this, and then they go feed advice or make resolution for United Nations accordingly on the matter. Yes, now so this matter get for be. Now so this matter get for be so. Anybody where they try for play ball with La Republique, say may we surrender our restoration, our defense of our restored independence. May we pretend say we'll never be independent before. May na United Nations, may na through a United Nations referendum we go know whether we go be independent or we no go be independent. That person don't already sell out to La Republique. Yes, he don't buy La Republique their position on this matter, and I suspect every other thing that follows. If you buy La Republique their position, I suspect any other thing will follow, because I cannot pretend say La Republique no will be a separate country from Ambazonia, Southern Cameroon. I cannot pretend say we will not be get independence from 1961 resolution 60608. I cannot pretend. And if we be get that independence, I cannot pretend that the United Nations government come give we a referendum for determining whether we are independent or not. I no go agree that one. God bless you.
Wow, that was amazing indeed. Very, very amazing. And Barrister Gana, please, as you start with you on the aspect of a referendum, we've heard from the president loud and clear, and I think that it's important for us to continuously educate our people on the dangers involved with this whole scheme of a referendum today. Please, the floor is all yours.
The first thing I'm going to say, Paddy, is that I am not going to categorize all those who are clamoring for a referendum as having nebulous motives or having been bought out by French Cameroon. Somebody like Paul Augustin Dangam is somebody I personally know, and is somebody whose belief in Ambazonia, whose faith for our independence is unimpeachable. So people who are suggesting a referendum might be suggesting it for other reasons other than the fact that they have been bought out. I know some of the other members of Sako, for example, Mr. Callistus Fonjong, who is based in England, and a lot of other Scapo adherents or members who are well-meaning. They are wrong not because they have sold out. They are wrong because of what the president has articulately explained regarding the difference between a referendum and a plebiscite, and the difference between having a referendum on an independent and sovereign people as opposed to people who are an integral part of a nation. Are we an integral part of French Cameroon? When did that happen? Where is the Treaty of Union? Under what instrument? We know that they annexed us. We know that we are a people under annexation. I always quote the French Gaullist Frenchman who oversaw the Fumban ordeal, who said, in everything but in appearance, this was an annexation. So we are a sovereign and an independent people who are being annexed, and what we need to gain is a sovereignty. A great example to demonstrate why a referendum is not what we need is the situation of Namibia. Namibia came out of the same Treaty of Versailles as the British Cameroons. And while the British Cameroons was given to England as a trustee territory, Namibia was annexed to South Africa, and South Africa became a trustee or a guardian on Namibia. South Africa tried to make these same arguments throughout all of the apartheid regimes that Namibia was part and parcel of South Africa, just like French Cameroon and France are trying to make that argument that Ambazonia is part and parcel of French Cameroon. Not true. And Namibia did not need a referendum to assert its independence. The Southwest Africa People's Organization, SWAPO, fighting under the leadership of Sam Nujoma, fought the South Africans, and eventually, through several United Nations resolutions, including Resolution 269, and when the regime changed in South Africa from the regime of Frederick de Klerk to Mandela, Namibia got its independence. So Namibia is a perfect example to manifest what the president is saying. And I look at other nations that were independent nations that were tied into other territories, for example, Bosnia and Croatia, that were tied in with Serbia to form the nation of Yugoslavia, which I call Yugophalia. Those nations did not need a referendum to become free. Ukraine is not asking for a referendum to stay free of Russia that is trying to annex Ukraine. The other issue, and I'm going to look at it from a legal angle, is that our argument that we've never been part of La République and we are a people that have been annexed is a very prescient argument. What does that mean legally for all of those international agreements that La République has signed with other countries? What does that mean, or how does that speak to the loans that La République has taken from the World Bank, from the IMF, from China, from France, and from all of these international institutions? If we are a people that have been annexed, it means we have not had any legal force to affect those agreements. And so whatever loans that French Cameroon has taken to develop French Cameroon or to still have nothing to do with Ambazonia, because we're a sovereign people under annexation. Now, if we go through the route of a referendum, admitting that we are somehow part of French Cameroon, then legally, when we separate, some of those loans can be transferred to Ambazonia. So we have to be careful regarding which route we want to take towards completing the birth pains of our independence. Dr. Samuel Sako also talked about the plebiscite, how the plebiscite is a consultation of an independent and a sovereign people regarding national issues. We already have a plebiscite that has happened under a smaller scale. The late Cardinal Tumi did it. He did a survey to find out what Ambazonians want. And in his survey, with more than a 2/3 majority and asking other questions, resulting to almost a 99% majority, Ambazonians want independence. So that plebiscite has already been done, and that plebiscite can be done again on a wider scale within southern Cameroon. So that's my take on that, and I'm very sure that our brilliant lawyers on the panel will issue their own take on that.
Yes, thank you very much. Ambazonia's standpoint, the president will call it the determinant on the ground, the principle on the ground, is saying that a referendum is a flop, a referendum is a scam, and Ambazonia does not need it now. Perhaps I should get your last words, Barrister Fru, Barrister Team, as we round up this discussion for tonight. Let me start with you, Barrister Team.
Yes, I think I buy the same views from Barrister Gana. These people are not sold out. I believe they have just making mistakes. And let me explain why. See, a few days ago, senior citizen Sandangam put out this couple document on their so-called referendum. And I've had the opportunity to peruse through it carefully, and I hope he's listening to me. And I've come to the conclusion that most of what they are saying there, they are saying it in ignorance. They are making a mistake. For example, the first example they give for which they think that we should follow in asking for a referendum, they give the first example of Algeria. They say Algeria had a referendum. But what they did not say, or what they did not, the faith realize, was that in fact in Nigeria there were two referendums. There was one in 1961, purely in France. And the question was, because until then, the French regarded Algeria and other parts of the French empire, France d'outre-mer, that's France overseas. So they consider Algeria as part of France. And so in 1961, they came out with a referendum purely for the French people in France. And the question was this: do you wish Algeria to have independence? That was an internal affair. And the vote was yes. Then the second referendum happened in 1962, I think 1962. This was purely reserved for the Algerians. Do you want to have independence under these conditions 1, 2, 3, 4? And the Algerians voted yes. So this was a referendum to resolve an internal French matter. Secondly, I see in their document, they make a lot of allusions to calling the United Nations to come and organize a referendum. Yes, things are easier said than done. What they did not say is how they were going to get the UN to come and organize a referendum in Ambazonia. As of today that we are speaking, where is the United Nations in our issue? Is there any United Nations representative in Ambazonia to come and organize a referendum? No, the United Nations is not yet there. And so you cannot be calling a foreign body to come into the thing to do it. Two, there's no United Nations member who is supporting us, who will take this thing to United Nations. They also forgot to realize that the United Nations acts on resolutions. Therefore, somebody must be able to bring the proposal to the United Nations. Did they identify who would do that? No, they didn't do it because there's nobody standing out for us right now. Then all the other examples they gave, which I've dealt with already, had nothing to do with Amba. They talk about East Timor. East Timor had a referendum, but how did they get it? They got it when Indonesia wrote officially to the United Nations to come there and do a referendum for them. That document, that application was supported by Portugal, Australia, and other members of the United Nations. And so, how could they forget that the United Nations does not just jump into the thing? It doesn't do like that. Again, there's so much talk about dialogue. In fact, they do not even think that there should be any dialogue. They should go hold a referendum because a dialogue will not even work. What is a referendum? A referendum is meant to decide a national issue or an issue common to the people. What question are you going to put to the Ambazonians in your referendum? And who has agreed on that question? Nobody. And so you call a referendum and say what? What are you going to ask people? In 1972, I usually call a referendum to vote on his constitution. In 1961, France called a referendum to ask themselves this question: do you want this or want that? So without the United Nations being involved, it doesn't work that way. Again, several things have happened. I mentioned in my earlier stance, the Ivory Coast, the Cote d'Ivoire, the people agreed in their conferences, they agreed what to do. How did the United Nations get involved there? They wrote to the United Nations. France took it there and said, okay, there's a problem here. This is the agreement. UN transform this agreement into a United Nations resolution and then come and help us solve the problem. That's how they did it. So the Sako document completely ignores these stages. They say the rubbish dialogue. If there's no dialogue, as I've just said, how do you agree on the proposal you are going to ask the people? According to them, they should ask if we want to get independence. Who has agreed on that? Has Yaoundé agreed? You can only, if there were ever to be a referendum, or whatever you call it, it must be on the conference table where the parties agree and then the conditions under which they will do it. So if there's no dialogue, Yaoundé does not even have a problem. They say we're part of them. So how is the UN going to organize a referendum there with Yaoundé in control of everything in Ambazonia, from councillor to local chiefs? So their document is fraught with errors, and then it doesn't help us in anything. Again, I was saying that to do it, the people must have institutions to do it. There was something that happened in Cote d'Ivoire which is very similar to us. If you remember the crisis in the Cote d'Ivoire, the war arose out of Ivoirité. They completely left out Ouattara and claimed that he came from Upper Volta or Burkina Faso. So because of that war, the parties agreed that, okay, there will be a voter registration. They laid down the conditions under which a person will be registered to vote as an Ivorian. I took part in that process. And what's the process? Say, okay, somebody must be identified officially as a parent, father or mother, having come from the Ivory Coast. And how were they going to do it? They were going to use the courts. They will go and sit in Bamanda, they will go and sit in Santa, and these people who are contesting their leadership will bring witnesses. And once you bring two witnesses, they will issue a national identity card right there. They issue a voter registration card right there, and then you go and vote. Once they agreed on this, they took it to the United Nations. I came in, I was there, I was in the identification process. So their document is fraught with irregularities, not properly thought out. And so a referendum, in addition to what we have already said, and in addition to what the position of the IG that we don't go for it, these are some of the reasons for which our brothers and sisters postulating for referendum should understand. Yes, but Mr. Nangam said, well, people have different opinions. Of course, we are free to debate these things. But when we go before we have taken a decision, it is not because everybody agrees. No, this is what is the position of this IG, and these are the reasons behind it. If you are part of the IG, you subsume to it, you become part of the decision. And so, again, a referendum is ill-advised at this stage. This is conceived. I've said this before. The international community said, go and address the issue, the root cause of the problem. Suppose we were to go back to the conference table, call it Swiss, call it whatever, and identify that the main reason why we have this problem is the plebiscite in the first place. That was organized against our wishes. Will you then go for another plebiscite or another referendum? That's impossible. So that is this. Again, our brothers and sisters are looking. We don't do this to despise anybody. We do this so that people can understand the intricacies involved. As I said before, I came to this conclusion. We need to have structures in place. The case of East Timor, they had structures in place. Southern Sudan, they had a regional government for 6 years. They had their last meeting in Kenya, had autonomy for 6 years. East Timor had been given autonomy. They rejected it. They had autonomy before. Just that they throw it out, that they came now and said, come and help us, tell us what they want. The Scottish thing I've explained was organized by the Scottish Parliament. The Quebec referendum was organized by the Quebecois Parliament in Canada, not by Ottawa. So these examples I've given, none of them tarries with our case. And so it's better for them to forget about that. But again, if there must be a referendum, take my words carefully, if there must be a referendum, we'll be arrived at the table of discussion. Where conditions
Not
will be
by
there.
somebody talking
Yeah,
on
where conditions will
not
be
through
agreed on.
conference.
Yeah, where conditions will be agreed on by the parties concerned. Yaoundé will have
Okay.
committed itself to it. We, Ambazonians delegation, will have committed itself to it. With the conditions, who will organize, who will play what role, and who will play what role. Without which, you don't just write document. And then the United Nations, of course, if the Canadian talks are, if the talks are here, the United Nations would have been at the table as an observer. Conditions arrive, I would have been binding on the United Nations.